your right hand single roll you're doing on the snare is beautiful, by the way. Can you talk a little bit about how you developed it and any pitfalls to avoid when you're working on your singles on your right hand?
Yeah. It used to be like all nerves when I was younger. Then I can to control it for doing different speeds and different length of time. So what it is, it's a lot of rebound on the snare. Okay. And so at first it was just fingers doing the work. All right. Now it comes natural. I'm throwing in the wrist. Okay, so just fingers, but now I'm throwing the wrist and kind of an action. Just to get the wrist going, right? So it's a little bit of wrist, a little bit of fingers, and rebound. Okay? The reason why I'm throwing the wrist in is so I don't have to rely on rebound, so I can kind of pretty much do it on other surfaces than the snare or what have you. And this is called a blast beat. Single strokes. I'm following with the feet, so like just kind of. And I can do it to the side. In these songs, I'm doing a lot of the right hand one. So with the left hand, I could, follow or do other patterns, or, that's to the imagination as far as what you do in the combinations. Even with your bass drum, I'll show you like a little bit later. Instead of following it exactly, I'll double up on the bass drums. So a blast beat that's going to be like a 280 to 300 or whatever is going to be 280 to 300 with 16th notes on the feet. So instead of being like
doing like a double stroke roll with your feet, basically?
Exactly. It's what's that?
So I wish my technique was technique.
It's not a difficult technique. You got to play with your instrument a little bit. The skin's got to be tight too. You have to have a bounce. You can't do that on a loose surface. So, and the key to that is to really practice it slow. Practice it slow together. Practice it slow and exaggerated. Just remember, always remember, range of motion, okay? Slow and exaggerated so that your muscles really get that workout in. And then think about what your mind's thinking, because you want to establish that mind-muscle connection in anything you do. If I'm going, I want to close my eyes and think and feel about what it is I'm doing, just to try to get to that plane of thought where it's like, oh, this is relaxed and fun and easy. And then you tell yourself that, you know what I mean? And it kind of works, And everything happens here.
Yeah.
So if you can trick your mind sometimes, as funny as that sounds, it permits you to go a little bit further. And that's all it is. It's just being very self-analytical and looking at your body. We can talk about, weak limbs. Weak limbs, it's the same thing. You guys, if you have a weak limb for anything, right-handed people usually have trouble with their left hands and their left feet. Vice versa with left-handed people. So if I'm doing, and this is why I do a lot of triplet rudiments, which aren't covered. I mean, people know the single strokes, people know the triplets, like the Swiss triplets, like or the combination, double paradiddle, etc. But the triplet, or what I call the triplet rudiment, is just, let's say, a single with the right hand and a double with the left hand, or vice versa, in triplet. So circular, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So if I'm having trouble doing doubles because my left hand's dragging, I want to focus on isolating my left hand. So if I isolate my left hand, I'll do a triplet because I really don't care about this single stroke, this downbeat. I don't have to concentrate on that at all. It's just natural, right? I can just really focus on that left hand coming in solidly, and the triplet is, like I said, a feel. So it has to feel like a triplet, so your brain's thinking too, and vice versa. It's going to make everything easier. So isolate limbs. Same thing for the feet. Isolate your limbs. Just like when you're working out. If you want to work out on just the bicep, you're not going to do a row pull, right? Row. I'm forgetting my terms now. All right. When you do your back, you work on your biceps. Okay. So if I'm doing this, I'm working on my back, on my biceps, on my core. If you want to isolate your bicep, you're going to do a bicep curl. And you're going to do a concentration curl to isolate it even more, where you can focus on it and think about it. So it's the same thing with drumming. You want to isolate the problem and get it solved. Next. Like they say in French, suivant next, right? Okay, so is that cool?
I have a question.
Sure.
Do you write your music when you have to compose something?
Yes.
Do you write it as a notation or tabs, so just in case you don't forget in the future?
That's a great question.
Memorize it, so how do you do that?
That's a great question. We used to jam like 3 to 4 times a week with the band back in the day. And members have come and gone, and we don't do that anymore. So no, we've really never wrote it because it was so ingrained that it was just repetition, and then it was just memory. Okay? So we just memorized it and played it in the studio and played it live. Now the way we write is that my guitar player for the past 10 years is an engineer, a studio engineer, and he's very quick with Pro Tools, and he's super efficient that way. So I actually go to his place, and he writes riffs, and I come up with riffs with him, and we kind of like, he shows me all his riffs, and my forte is putting everything together and bridging things and creating traps and creating things that'll surprise people, and him as well. So we kind of just work, the two of us, right at the computer, and then figure out arrangements. And when we got an arrangement figured out, we'll go and practice it, play it with the instruments, and then figure out stuff like tempo and change little things here and there. Sometimes we have done songs where it was just strictly on the computer, and then we went to record it like a few days later, and that was a very big challenge. Because what you come up with in, on the screen in the computer and the beats you assign to it is not necessarily what you can play, even though when you've had a few beers you think it is. But so that's how we do it now. We don't write anything, but it's all written on computer, if you wish, on Pro Tools. Okay. We could write it down. And the thing is, with double bass and this kind of music, there's like so many little notes that so it's better to have it on program, and then through Pro Tools you can put it into a program which would write it out into notes, because we have done like partitions and stuff like that for people that wanted them sent out and stuff. So okay, I'm gonna do a little Digital Doomzday song since you guys haven't heard that yet, and you probably don't.